Greetings. This is Brother Eli with another episode of Bible Truth Revealed. Today's teaching is entitled, Is it wrong to shave your beard? That is it wrong to shave your beard? This teaching is not directed at men who are unable to grow a beard. Therefore, if you are a man who is unable to grow a beard, this teaching is not referring to you. This is specifically for Israelite men whom the Most High has blessed with the ability to grow a beard. For those of us who have beards or the ability to grow a beard, the question is it wrong for us to shave our beards? In this teaching, I will seek to answer the following questions. 1. Why did our forefathers have beards? 2. Is it wrong for Israelite men to shave off our beards? 3. Why do so many men shave off their beards? 4. Is it ever okay to shave off your beard? And 5. Is it okay to groom your beard? Question 1. Why did our forefathers have beards? In the Encyclopedia Britannica, under the heading Beard, Facial Hair, Quote 1 says this: Beard, hair grown on a man's chin and cheeks, frequently a badge of full manhood. It has been held in high honor in various periods of history. Our forefathers considered it a privilege to be blessed with a beard. It is a badge of full manhood that they held in high honor. Psalm 132 in the Brenton Septuagint translation is chapter 133 in the KJV. I'll be reading Psalm 132 verses 1 to 2 in the Brenton Septuagint translation. It reads thus: See now what is so good, or what so pleasant as for brethren to dwell together. So what could be so good or pleasant as brethren dwelling together? It is a beautiful thing when brethren or brothers, people of the same group or nation, dwell together. Verse 2. It is as ointment on the head that ran down to the beard, even the beard of Aaron, that ran down to the fringe of his clothing. It says not just ran down to the beard, but even the beard of Aaron. It is highlighting the beard of Aaron because any of our forefathers that read this psalm understood what an honor it is for a man to have a beard. So brethren dwelling together is as pleasant as Aaron having a beard for ointment to run down upon. Leviticus chapter 21, I will read verse 1 and verse 5. Leviticus chapter 21 verses 1 and 5 reads thus: And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the priests, the sons of Aaron, and thou shalt tell them that they shall not defile themselves in their nation for the dead. Verse 5. And ye shall not shave your head for the dead with a baldness on the top, and they shall not shave their beard, neither shall they make gashes on their flesh. So the sons of Aaron were not allowed to shave their beard. They were to wear the badge of full manhood as part of their priestly office. It has always been an honor for Israelite men to wear beards. This was especially true for the sons of Aaron. Now let's examine Leviticus chapter 19, which is not limited to the sons of Aaron. Leviticus chapter 19, I will read verses 1 and 2 and verses 27 to 28. That's Leviticus chapter 19, verses 1 to 2 and verses 27 to 28. It says, "And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the congregation of the children of Israel." So this is not only for the priests. It's not only for the sons of Aaron. It's for the entire congregation of the children of Israel. It continues, "And thou shalt say to them, Ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy." The children of Israel are supposed to be holy, which means separate, different from the nations around us, just like our God is holy. Verse 27, "Ye shall not make a round cutting of the hair of your head, nor disfigure your bed." So Israelite men are not allowed to disfigure our beds. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines the word disfigure as to spoil the appearance of. So Israelite men are not allowed to spoil the appearance of our beds. In the Ellicott's commentary for English readers, the entry for Leviticus chapter 19 verse 27 says this, and I quote, "The bed was regarded by the Hebrews and other Eastern nations as the greatest ornament of a man." The greatest ornament of a man is his bed. It continues, "and was as dear to them as life itself." That's how important it is for a man to have a bed. Before we were taken into captivity, Israelite men understood that we are not to disfigure our beds. However, after hundreds of years of having our culture whipped out of us by the oppressor, many Israelite men willingly and intentionally disfigure their beds after the customs of the oppressor. There are some rebellious Israelites who argue that this commandment only pertains to rituals for the dead. They say that as long as it is not done for the dead, we are permitted to disfigure or spoil the appearance of our beds. So let's read the next verse so I can dispel that myth. Leviticus chapter 19 verse 28 says, "And," the word "and" means that a new commandment is being introduced. "And ye shall not make cuttings in your body for a dead body." And here's another commandment being introduced: "Ye shall not inscribe on yourselves any marks. I am the Lord your God." Leviticus chapter 19 is a list of unrelated commandments that were given to the Israelites so that we can be holy, set apart from the nations around us, just like the Most High is holy. This is why verse 2 says, "Thou shalt say to them, Ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy." Verse 27 contains a commandment that prohibits us from disfiguring or spoiling the appearance of our beds. The word "and" in verse 28 separates this from the commandment which pertains to the dead. To be perfectly clear, we are not to make cuttings in our body as part of the mourning process. This is a practice of the heathen, and it is separate from the commandment not to disfigure our beds. For a better understanding of Leviticus chapter 19, verse 28, please listen to my teaching entitled, Should I Get a Tattoo? That is, should I get a tattoo? Question number 2. Is it wrong for Israelite men to shave off our beards? The beard is the badge of full manhood. It is a shameful thing to shave off your beard or have someone else remove it from your face. The Most High gave us beards, and He commanded us not to disfigure or spoil the appearance of them. Having a beard is the most natural thing for an Israelite man, as this is what the Most High intended. Israelite men must not be mistaken for boys or women. The beard is the most obvious feature that separates us from them. 2 Kings chapter 10 in the Brenton Septuagint translation is 2 Samuel chapter 10 in the KJV. I'll be reading 2 Kings chapter 10 verses 1 to 6 in the Brenton Septuagint translation. It reads thus. And it came to pass after this that the king of the children of Ammon died, and Anan his son reigned in his stead. And David said, I will show mercy to Anan the son of Nas, as his father dealt mercifully with me. And David sent to comfort him concerning his father by the hand of his servants. And the servants of David came into the land of the children of Ammon. And the princes of the children of Ammon said to Anan their lord, Is it to honor thy father before thee, that David has sent comforters to thee? Has not David rather sent his servants to thee, that they should search the city, and spy it out, and examine it? So Anan thought that King David sent these men to spy out his land, and he decided to dishonor them in the worst way possible. He could have whipped them, dragged them through mud, or even spat at them. But let's see what he did instead. Verse 4. And Anan took the servants of David and shaved their beards. He shaved their beards. He removed their badge of full manhood. He understood that removing a man's beard was just as bad as killing him because of the shame and dishonor that it represented. It continues, and cut off their garments in the midst as far as their haunches. That's more shame and dishonor, and sent them away. Verse 5. And they brought David word concerning the men, and he sent to meet them, for the men were greatly dishonored. And the king said, Remain in Jericho till your beards have grown, and then ye shall return. These Israelite men were dishonored by having their badge of full manhood removed from them. King David understood just how shameful this was, so he commanded his servants not to return to Jerusalem until their beards had regrown. That is, until they had recovered their badge of full manhood. Verse 6. And the children of Ammon saw that the people of David were ashamed. It's a shameful thing to have your beard removed. It's a shameful thing to remove your beard. It's a sign of dishonor. It continues, and the children of Ammon sent and hired the Syrians of Bethlehem, and the Syrians of Suba and Rub, 20,000 footmen, and the king of Amalek with 1,000 men, and Istob with 12,000 men. So the children of Ammon, seeing how ashamed the people of David were, are now preparing for war. Removing a man's beard is cause for war. There's going to be war because they dishonored the people of David by shaving off their beard. This is how seriously our forefathers took it. when someone removed their beard. Nowadays, many Israelite men are willingly removing their own badge of full manhood. This is evidence of how destroyed we are as a people. Many of our men think that shaving off their beard is a good thing. In fact, it is quite the opposite. The beard is one of the things that helps us to distinguish men from women. But the oppressor has an agenda to blur the lines between men and women. So men are encouraged to remove their badge of full manhood so they can look feminine. Righteous Israelite men must not fall for this trick of the enemy. Question number 3. Why do so many men shave off their beards? In the Encyclopedia Britannica, under the heading Beard, Facial Hair, quote 2 says this: "The razor was used in Rome in the 6th century BCE. However, shaving did not become general until about the mid-5th century BCE. So there was a time when it was not general, not normal, not popular to shave off your beard." It continues, "Anglo-Saxon men generally wore beards until the coming of Christianity. Until the coming of Christianity. Christianity destroys everything that it touches." It continues, "In the 7th century, when the clergy were required by law to shave. Christianity rejects and refuses the laws of the Most High God, and they create their own laws which are contrary to the laws of the Most High. So in Christianity, the clergy were required by law to shave. Nowadays, Christianity is the reason that many Israelite men willingly remove their badge of full manhood. Even those who claim not to be Christian have been so influenced by the Christian culture in which we live that they have no idea that it was the Christians who forced our Israelite forefathers to shave their beards as part of the enslavement process. Christianity is an unholy religion that opposes everything that the Most High declared as holy. The Most High commanded the Israelites not to disfigure our beards, so the Christians forced us to shave off our beards. What else should we expect from a religion that was invented to oppose the Most High and His people? Question number 4. Is it ever okay to shave off your beard? Leviticus chapter 14, I will read verses 1 to 2 and verses 8 to 9. That's Leviticus chapter 14, verses 1 to 2 and verses 8 to 9, and it reads thus. "And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, This is the law of the leper," that's someone who has leprosy. "In whatsoever day he shall have been cleansed, then shall he be brought to the priest." Verse 8. "And the man that has been cleansed shall wash his garments, and shall shave off all his hair, and shall wash himself in water, and shall be clean. And after that he shall go into the camp, and shall remain out of his house 7 days. And it shall come to pass on the 7th day, he shall shave off all his hair, his head and his beard, and his eyebrows, even all his hair shall he shave. And he shall wash his garments, and wash his body with water, and shall be clean." Leprous Israelite men are expected to shave off their beard as part of the cleansing process. So, in our homeland, if an Israelite man was walking around without his badge of full manhood, it could reasonably be assumed that he had just been cleansed from leprosy. Apart from that, there is no good reason to shave off your beard. A shaved beard is always a shameful and dishonorable thing. Whether an Israelite man has his beard shaved by his enemies in order to humiliate him, or he shaves it off himself because he has lost his cultural identity and adopted that of the heathen, it is always a shame and dishonor. The prophet Ezekiel was commanded to cut off his beard with a sharp sword as a sign of the destruction that was coming upon the Israelites. Ezekiel chapter 5, I will read verses 1 and 2. That's Ezekiel chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. It says, "And thou, son of man, take thee a sword sharper than a barber's razor. Thou shalt procure it for thyself, and shalt bring it upon thine head and upon thy beard. And thou shalt take a pair of scales and shalt separate the hair." So Ezekiel was told to cut the hair from his head and from his beard, then separate that on a pair of scales. Verse 2. "A fourth part thou shalt burn in the fire in the midst of the city at the fulfillment of the days of the siege." At the fulfillment of the days of the siege tells us that there was going to be a siege. Enemies were coming to destroy the Israelites. And when those days were fulfilled, Ezekiel would take a fourth part of the hair that he had removed and burn it in fire in the midst of the city. It continues, "And thou shalt take a fourth part, and burn it up in the midst of it. And the fourth part thou shalt cut with a sword round about. And the fourth part thou shalt scatter to the wind, and I will draw out a sword after them." The Most High was going to send his sword after the Israelites in the same way that was depicted by Ezekiel putting a sword to the hair on his head and his beard. The removal of Ezekiel's beard represented coming destruction. Some wicked Israelite men use this passage to justify shaving off their beards. They do not acknowledge that Ezekiel was commanded to do so as a sign that destruction was coming. This was not a good thing. Whether they know it or not, shaving off their beards is a sign that they have been destroyed. They have been stripped of their cultural identity and are no longer holy or set apart from the heathen. Question number 5. Is it okay to groom your beard? 2 Kings chapter 19 in the Brenton Septuagint translation is 2 Samuel chapter 19 in the KJV. I'll be reading 2 Kings chapter 19 verse 25 in the Brenton Septuagint translation. It says, "And Mephibosheth, the son of Saul's son, went down to meet the king, and had not dressed his feet, nor pared his nails, nor shaved himself, neither had he washed his garments from the day that the king departed, until the day when he arrived in peace." This man had been mourning the departure of King David, and as a result, he did not wash his feet, cut his nails, groom his beard, or wash his clothes until the king returned in peace. The context reveals that this man was not well presented. He looked like a bum. Now that King David had returned in peace, he would wash his feet, cut his nails, groom his beard, and wash his clothes. He would no longer look like a bum. There is no need for Israelites to walk around looking like bums. Although we are not to shave off or disfigure our beds, we are allowed to groom them. We can trim loose hairs and keep our beards well shaped and attractive. This is shaving our beards without shaving off our beards. So it is okay for us to shave our beards as long as we do not disfigure them or shave them off completely. In conclusion, we have learned that before being taken into slavery, Israelite men considered it a privilege to grow their beards. It is a badge of full manhood that was held in high honor by our forefathers and was regarded as the greatest ornament of a man. Israelite men are forbidden to disfigure our beards, and the only time we are allowed to shave it off is if we are recovering from leprosy. Nevertheless, we are within our right to groom our beards to keep them looking presentable. I pray that more Israelite men would reclaim their badge of full manhood and wear their beard with high honor, just like our forefathers did. And with that I say, Shalom.